Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Ratchet and by himself.
I was gonna say when you started the last part that it better be Rivet and Clank and then Ratchet and
No one.
yeah. Does he ever get a not Clank?
Yes, I just edited the part where you asked that last session, so yes, he does.
Ooh, okay, interesting.
So we're actually on the planet where we get said not Clank.
Oh.
Ooh,
Also, hi, Gary.
this guy's name's Gary. Oh yeah, we met him last time where he like let the Clank lemmings,
Yes.
Clanksings. Ratchet and Clank minis strike again. There we go.
Okay, so
Hot take: Mario versus Donkey Kong is not as good as the minis games. I said it. Oh,
I'll have to take your word for that because I have no idea what
Okay.
you're
So
talking about.
here's the tier list. All right, it's Donkey Kong 94 is like an S tier platformer. All right, and then like Mario versus Donkey Kong's like a B tier. It's fine. And then Mario versus Donkey Kong 2, Rise of the like March of the Minis or whatever it's called. That's like an A tier puzzle game. So we're comparing apples and oranges, obviously, but like Mario versus Donkey Kong just does not compare to Donkey Kong 94 at all. It's just not as good, unfortunately. I mean, I'd love for them to make a Mario versus Donkey Kong like the first one, just so that I get technically Donkey Kong 94 3, which would be a really stupid name to give a game. So, yeah,
Donkey Kong 96.
Donkey Kong 96. Oh man, I can't believe they've made 96 Donkey Kong games.
That's some like far-flung future Square Enix naming right there.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as that goes, I am very curious as to what they will do whenever they hit Final Fantasy 30.
Final Fantasy. Oh man. Ratchet. Okay.
They're gonna call it Protagonist Returns Final Fantasy
29.
29 plus 1.
That's too normal for a Square Enix title.
You know what's great? Like once they get to 20 and 30 and 40, they can't use sequel numbers at the end because if you try to pronounce Final Fantasy 22, you just get 22 instead of
22.
Oh man. Oh god.
so that they better hope those aren't the popular ones because
Final Fantasy 30 with like the Nomura art that goes behind the title, but it's just all pixelated because they just make it Final Fantasy XXX. Oh man.
let's be real though, they're never gonna make it to that many Final Fantasies.
Yeah, they are.
No, they aren't.
They're over halfway there.
Yeah, but you know.
Well, I mean,
It'll be a matter if we live long enough to see it, but
yeah, that's the thing. Because like, imagine you're living in the year 1940 or whatever. I'm sure people then would say, they'll never keep making Mickey Mouse. You know, he'll go. Yeah, you know, like we're getting to the point where many of these franchises could conceivably.
I'm not saying that I phrased the thing wrong. I'm not saying that the franchise won't last long enough to have 30 games in it. What I'm saying is that they won't keep just titling them Final Fantasy number for quite that long. Because by the time they get that far, the only people who care about like the beginning of the franchise are going to be dead.
I mean,
you can argue that now.
Yeah, I was gonna say like people were making fun of Final Fantasy numbers once they got to like 8 and 9. I think Rooster Teeth back in like 2005 bought the IP, but not the IP address for Final Fantasy 13. And then Square had to pay them to get it back when they had finally released the game.
Most of the people who played Final Fantasy 1 back in the day when it was on the NES or the Famicom, whatever, are still alive. Is what it like. So
they're like 40 though, but yeah.
Yeah, well, 40 isn't that old. It's like less than 10 years older than me. So, okay, my point is, by the time they get to game 30 in the mainline series, most of the people who played like the first 4 to 5 games are going to be like either too old to care or actually dead of old age.
I mean, again, the thing is, no one really cares in that way because they're not connected in any way, really. So it's really just really just one of those. That's just how they title a main Final Fantasy game for whatever reason, and I don't see them changing that, if only because they've already passed the ridiculous point of numbers. So it's like, if you stop now, it's just going to be weird.
Not really, because they've already distanced themselves from what the games are like supposed to be about. So my prediction is that we'll have some big, multi-game franchise like the frickin' Final Fantasy 15 multiverse shit, and it'll start like a new mainline title,
Oh man, I really hope that we don't. Oh no, you lied. We have not Clank now.
That's why I was saying we get her in the stage.
Well, you just said you just edited the part where we get them.
Oh no, I didn't.
Okay, well then I absolutely misheard. When did we get Sonic?
We just picked them up.
Okay.
These are the skating boots that were
We are now Shadow the Hedgehog. Yes.
Such a big thing in the future series, specifically a Crack in Time, I think.
Yeah, they're really fun in this game.
A Crack in Time kind of flirted with some ideas that are front and center in this game. Like, there was a sort of time travel mechanic on certain levels where you would flip back and forth between different time periods in a level, and through time travel, you would affect different parts, different time periods in the level. Like, you'd go back and fix a problem, and then you'd go into the present. Hey, the problem is fixed, and you can progress now. It was pretty cool. They didn't use it very much, though.
Yeah, so earlier during that little interaction there, I was using the big boss killer weapons because the way you get experience points for your guns in this game, the way it works is that you get experience for the weapons based on damage dealt. It does not matter the enemy HP values. As long as you're doing the damage, you will get the XP for that. So using the big boss laser kill weapon is actually really good to use on like groups of like really weak tiny guys, because it doesn't matter if the tiny guys only have like 1 hit point of HP. I'm still doing like the 10,000 the big gun thing does.
Yeah, and you're doing it to a lot of targets at once, so you're gaining XP more quickly. I see.
Yeah, so.
Yeah. Oh man, honestly the boost mode in this game does look really fun to play. I have always considered Ratchet and Clank to be a fast-paced game, but that's more just kind of in that you're taking a lot of actions and not necessarily that like you're moving quickly.
Yeah.
So this definitely like is really cool. I didn't know that there was just like a boost straight out of Sonic Unleashed.
Yeah.
Also, we have arrived at the Trials of Danger / Doom.
The Danger / Doom. Oh man.
Hate / Doom.
And / or Doom, man.
Yes. Also, we got our first lore, which if you listen to them here, I think I show one. Oh, we can't listen to them because we haven't met the guy who gives us the quest yet. But basically, those are the things that have all of our Sony references.
Oh, okay. So they're
call logs, so.
Yeah. You see, there's like 3 big reasons why we never are probably going to do Metal Gear Solid. One of which is because Konami will content ID the hell out of it. 2, because they're all really long. And 3, watching people just talk for 30 minutes is just really boring.
Every time I get to the end of Metal Gear Solid 2, without fail, I have to go take a piss in the middle of the big long monologue scene before Solidus Snake. So,
can you not pause during cutscenes in Metal Gear?
Not
in 2, no.
Oh, no.
they let you do that in, I think, 3 onwards.
It's literally a half-hour series of cutscenes and codec conversations without interruption.
I mean, better than the ending of 4, which is like, what, an hour and 20 minutes of just story and cutscenes?
There was a friend of mine who was going to go, like, oh, I'm going to beat Metal Gear Solid 4. I'm at the very end. I'm going to watch the ending cutscenes and then go out and hang out with you guys. He didn't end up going out and meeting with us guys. He was stuck watching cutscenes until like 11 o'clock at night, and I was like, nah, I'm good.
So, like, okay, we give Metal Gear Solid crap for that, but there are some other games that actually outclass Metal Gear Solid in cutscene length. One of them.
I know that the Persona games can be very bad. I remember that like a lot of people complain about Hawaii in Persona 5 taking like 3 hours.
I've never heard anyone complain about Hawaii, but that's mostly because like if you stuck with the game long enough to reach Hawaii, you're basically there for it most of the time.
Well, I
you
mean,
know?
it's mostly like, I wanted to do stuff and not just like watch cutscenes for 3 hours.
I think the problem with Metal Gear is the gameplay to cutscene ratio.
Yeah, but like the game I was about to bring up has that same issue. The game I wanted to bring up was Xenosaga. Like, Jesus fucking Christ. You do like a short dungeon with a few battles and maybe some random battles if you really want to stretch it out intentionally. And then the cutscenes take like forever. And I don't even remember if you could pause or skip any of them. So
Yeah, but like with 4, the problem, like 4 gets the most flack for it for Metal Gear because of the 5 acts of the game, you're really only playing like 3 of them.
yeah, it's kind of like weirdly balanced in that way. Like
So it's like you're having a good time playing the game for like the first like 2.5 acts. When like once you get through the Shadow Moses section, the game just stops being a game for the most part.
I would say it stops being a game like within the Shadow Moses section because a lot of that.
Yeah, that's why I said like halfway through that section.
A lot of that section is kind of just going through the nostalgic Shadow Moses areas with like robots as the enemies that don't even actually respond to you the way the other enemies do within the stealth gameplay. So like for me, most of the like open-ended stealth action gameplay that was so good in Metal Gear Solid 4 ends in Act 2 before the turret section.
Yeah.
No, what am I saying? It ends in Act 2 before the Stalker stealth section, actually, that you start Act 3 with. If I'm remembering the order of gameplay correctly, there's like a Stalker section through a city in Act 3 where and like that
then you do like a rail section,
and like
more or less.
there's actually like open-ended like exploration to do during that Stalker section, but you're not going to do it because you're supposed to be following this guy around. And I have no idea why all this other stuff is here, but like after that there's a turret section, and then there's a boss, and then from there on it's like Shadow Moses and boss fights, and then a really short section in Act 5 that you do need to do a little bit of sneaking through. And then it's all just like the final boss and finale stuff, which is pure interactive cutscene.
Yeah, so like, to me, like once you get through that starting point on Shadow Moses, the game becomes like 95% cutscene and like 5% actual gameplay.
Yeah, it's just like...
So it's like even when you're playing the game, you're not really playing the game all that much.
The first half of the game in Acts 1 and 2 is so amazing, too. It's like really well-designed, open-ended, tactical espionage action, and it's like... it's kind of like a worse version of the problem Metal Gear Solid 1 has, where like the game is really good for the first half, but then it becomes like really bottlenecky and linear during the second half. But it felt...
Oh, really? Because, I mean, I've never played the Metal Gear Solid games personally, but from what I remember seeing, like, there's a lot of there's, like, a lot of, like, backtracking and, like, exploration you have to do, like...
in one, you're still playing it for the most part. It's just, after a certain point, the game just kind of, like, stop with the pretenses of exploring the base. Just go here and do what you need to do.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It kind of has... It's a similar problem to what the early Resident Evil games have, actually, where the first half is more open-ended and explory than the second half, and things just sort of get a little bit of tunnel vision in the design during the second half of the game.
That is kind of inevitable with any game. where there is exploration, because by the end you run out of things to explore, and then you're funneled towards the last area.
Not entirely true, because like, okay, in Resident Evil 1's case, I bring up early Resident Evil as an example because in the Resident Evil remake, they actually fixed the problem by adding more exploration in the second half, and making the second mansion visit a little more relevant to the stuff that's geographically located around it. So,
Yeah.
but
It's just interesting to bring up because in Solid 1's case, you're still playing it for the most part.
yeah.
Compared to 4, where it's just like, no, you're not even playing the game at this point.
That's why I say it's a worse version of the same problem.
Yeah.
Like, it's fundamentally the same kind of issue, but it's exacerbated badly by the way the later areas are designed and the way the cutscene to gameplay ratio is balanced. And I want to hate it more than I actually hate it, but Metal Gear Solid 4's story goes to so many weird places by that point in the game that it's hard to dislike it. Not impossible, but quite difficult.
I don't know. Again, it's hard to have a informed opinion when your main information about Metal Gear Solid comes from Let's Plays and memes. But it just a lot of it's the problem I see that Kojima tends to have while writing stuff is the dude very clearly has a vision and he has points he wants to make and he's skilled in a lot of different ways, but he tends to just write stuff stupid. Which is not a very nuanced critique.
He's kind of like, imagine the most unsubtle Atlas game. Imagine Afro Lady from Catherine. That's a good point of comparison. Okay, that level of subtlety. Kojima is less subtle than that.
Oh man, and Afro Lady from Catherine is just like, you like to cheat on your wife. You think cheating on your wife is okay. And it's just like, yeah, that's what my choices.
Okay. I bring up Trisha. I think that's her name. Afro Lady from Catherine, because her secret ending, if you beat the Babel mode, reveals that the entire thing was a setup so that she could determine who she was going to get together with. And spoilers, it's the player in first person mode because
Catherine's actually a dating sim the whole time, man.
Yeah, the plot twist is that the secret ending is a Japanese eroge visual novel trope, and there's nothing whatsoever interesting or layered about it. That's just where the game ends.
No woman ever came to me and said, yo, I want to date you because you beat super hard mode in an Atlas game. That would actually make me beat some of the DLC bosses in the SMT games.
It's like the most obvious trope, too, because she comes to the player's shitty-ass little studio apartment, and the player, in big old air quotes, is, the faceless, bland-looking teenage guy in the most featureless white t-shirt you've ever seen in your life. There's nothing about him that's defining at all, so you definitely know it's supposed to be the player, because that's how these things work. That's the Japanese pop culture trope. Do you get it?
Yeah.
Do you get it? But
yeah, I'm not that's part of why I'm not a huge fan of a lot of harem manga and anime, is because it's just why are we supposed to think that all of these women like this one dude when this one dude
It's not even a callback to that, though. It's a callback to the way it's a callback to the way it's usually written, specifically in porn VNs.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Where the main character doesn't even matter. They literally are just supposed.
The face is literally in shadow because it's supposed to be you. You get it? Do you get it?
Yeah.
Do you get it?
Yeah, even more so than a Link or a Dragon Quest protagonist. It's no, there's no pretext here. It's just you are that person.
Yeah. You're here to get off to this.
Yeah, but when you're trying to be a little bit more ambitious with your storytelling, to put it kindly. You know, it's just like, if you're making... I get that harem anime are in many ways just the most blatant wish fulfillment. It's just like, yeah, many teenage boys want a bunch of hot girls to think that they like them. Okay, sure, but there has to be a reason why all these girls like this one doofy guy, and it certainly isn't when... There certainly isn't a reason when he has no personality, no cool haircut, or, like, a job, you know?
I mean, okay, yeah, it's easy to dunk on harem anime, but to be fair, some of it does, like, play with the trope a little and, you know, make it part of the fun.
Yeah, some of the better ones that I've seen lately, and they're still, like, trashy.
They're still trashy, but they're trashy in a fun way.
But, like,
you know?
what's that one called? The quintuplets one. That's very trashy, but, like, the main character of that is actually, like, a big jackass. And it's, and they don't even, like, try to deny that. So it's like, okay, you can understand why some of these characters, like, come to have, like, actual... Like, they have an actual relationship. And it's not like all of these girls just like this guy out of nowhere. It's like, okay, he's a jackass and they're stuck together. And they all realize that they're more deep than they started to be. And it's like, is it still blatant wish fulfillment that this one guy gets 4 attractive quintuplets to like him all at the same time? Yes, definitely. But at least you tried. At least that's what the gold star for effort is for. Okay,
Well,
that's what it's for.
there's that, and sometimes, like, the fact that something is trashy can be part of the joke.
Yeah, exactly.
Without
you
it
know?
necessarily being a deconstruction or anything, you know?
Yeah, like, there's a certain area where something is trashy and acknowledges it's trashy, but doesn't use that as an excuse to be even more trashy. I'm not doing a good job explaining myself, but, like, it knows what it wants to be and it does it, but it doesn't use that as an excuse to not at least try to have quality elements to it, I guess.
Oh, so Keijo.
Sure. I don't know what that is, but
It's kind of the same sort of self-awareness that people praise Resident Evil 4 for, except applied to a different genre.
Honestly, kinda, yeah.